Everyone has some kind of fear about certain things. Some people are afraid of heights, fear of public speaking, fear of the dark, etc. Many of us have more than one of these and don't particularly know why. I have a couple of phobias, but I have a pretty good idea where one of them started. Let me take you back to the early 1950s, when I was about 10 years old. And we lived in a house about a mile from the main highway. To get to the closest store from our house, we had to go up a 200 to 300 yard long driveway to a small road, turn left, and go down about a mile to the main highway. Then take another left and go down about a quarter mile to the nearest store. Or the most direct route was to walk through our neighbor's field, which occupied all of the land between us and the highway. Now, taking this path brought us out on the highway just a little ways down from the store. One particularly hot sunny afternoon, my mother asked me to walk to the store and pick up a few items. So my 10-year-old friend and I set out walking across the neighbor's field. Now, it just so happened that the farmer had plowed this field up the previous week, and it had been a hot, dry week, so the dirt that had been plowed up in long rows had dried out and was covered with big clods of dirt. We spent our time on the trip over kicking and throwing these clods of dirt and discussing whatever it was that 10-year-old boys talked about in those days, probably baseball. I know we would not become aware of girls for a few more years, so I'm sure it wasn't that. Anyhow, the trip over was uneventful, and we arrived at the store and made our few purchases and started our trip back, each of us carrying a small sack. We got about a third of the way across the farmer's field, and then we both stopped short in our tracks. Directly in our path, sticking up out of the ground, was a snake's head. Not moving, just sticking straight up. Now, looking back these many years later, the snake's head was no bigger than a garden hose. But to two 10-year-old boys, it looked massive. We spent a couple of minutes discussing what it really was, and we came up with two options. One, the farmer had run over and killed the snake, and this was just his head that happened to be sticking straight up. Or number two, this was a monster snake that was just coming out of his lair, and he was intent on biting both of us. After looking back again, the simplest solution would have probably been to make a wide detour around the snake and continue on our way. But we came up with a different plan. We carefully set our sacks down and then armed ourselves with several clods of dirt and began throwing at the snake's head. Now, even though we both thought we were excellent pitchers, neither of us could actually hit it. But we did come close, and the snake's head never moved. Finally, after repeated efforts, we decided that it was in fact just a head, and he was dead and couldn't possibly hurt us. So, as I turned back to bend down and pick up my sack, I realized that I had one more clod of dirt left in my hand. I absentmindedly tossed this over my shoulder and reached down and picked up my sack. But as fate would have it, that clod of dirt would come down squarely on the snake's head, and he did not like that. My last image of that snake was him coming completely up out of the ground, wiggling and hissing as my friend and I replowed a field back toward the highway. It took us a long time to get home that afternoon, because we took the long way around, down the highway to the small road, down it to our driveway, never touching dirt till we got back in my front yard. To the best of my memory, I didn't cut through that neighbor's field anymore until winter time, when I knew that there would be no snakes around. So, you see, I may not know why I have a fear of public speaking. I've done it a lot, and I still dread it every time. But I do know exactly why I don't like snakes. This has been Larry Robinson, reminiscing. Until next time, so long.